Hello, Team Infinite. Welcome to Actor v Actor. I'm your host, Brian Watts, aka Perfect Sale, or Shadow's Fate. Today we are joined by Anya, a voice actor in the industry who we're basically going to be asking you a few questions if that's cool with you.
Sounds good.
All right, it's great to have you here with us today, so let's just really begin. Team Infinite, this is just a new series we're starting. Basically, we're going to be interviewing actors in the industry who have really just their own unique stories to, share with the world. So, just a first question, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I am from Russia. I got my first taste of voiceover back there. We would watch Sailor Moon dubbed in Russian. Very, very interesting dub it was. But I was just really fascinated with it. We moved over here, and I was always very into anime and, animated movies, and I was really fascinated just by, how they came to be from just a person in a studio to, wow, that character is, like, alive in front of me. I watched a lot of behind the scenes, actors in the booth sort of things before, like, every movie, and I just kind of was so intrigued by it, and I ended up doing meeting a few friends online where we were all interested in creative things, whether it was storytelling, writing, acting, and we just kind of made our own kinda like audio dramas, basically, and, just got a lot of practice with that, and I'm mostly just self-taught. I did some musical theater in high school, but, yeah, I just always loved specifically voiceover, and so, I didn't really consider it as something I could shoot to do for a living, but, here we are. So it's been a journey, and it's it's still on it, but, yeah, I'm happy to, give it my biggest shot and, finally be able to pursue it. It's a good
That
feeling.
that's awesome. So, I didn't actually know you were Russian. That's pretty awesome. Did
Yeah,
you uh,
yeah.
did you do any Russian voiceover work?
I have, yeah, I have done a few things, and I can't talk about them, but I have,
No
yes.
worries. Well, that's really awesome. We don't really get many. Well, as far as I know, I didn't really ask questions of whether or not somebody's from another country or not when it came to the interviews. But as far as I know, we don't get very many bilingual voice actors really to interview at all. But that's really awesome. So you kind of already answered this question already, but in regards to voiceover, did you have any previous training, whether it was theater arts or any prior classes? I know that you said you were kind of self-taught, but did you take any kind of theater arts back in school at all?
So, I was in the drama club, and, I did some musical theater, but, I had really and still do have really bad, like, anxiety and stage fright, and, that was just not a great mix. I really love and I still love it, and, like, I would do it, and I did it, but something about voiceover in particular, I enjoyed because I feel like I could be anybody behind the mic, and it gave me a boost of confidence that I didn't necessarily feel on a stage. Um, so yeah, I mostly just did, just kind of studied the art basically, watched it, did a lot of imitations, not so much like voice imitations, but rather like, here's this character in this situation, this is how this actor chose to portray it, and like kind of break that down and um kind of just use what I had, I did end up taking some classes and getting coached now, but back then it was mostly just studying the craft, just watching what was out in the ether.
Well, that's really awesome that you're taking classes now, but I mean, it's definitely interesting that you've kind of, you said that you were living in. I'm really curious now what those Russian dubs sound like. I'm really curious now.
I
uh,
don't know what they sound like over there, but I do know, that over here they have, like, Russian channels, like, Russian specific channels, and
mhm.
Like, they'll make American films, like, they'll have American films and then dub them over in Russian, and it's a little comical. Like,
Oh
it'll be
gosh.
just, like, one voice actor sometimes, just, like, maybe, like, one masculine voice for literally every character in the whole production, so that's some of the dubs, but I'm sure there are more, like, extensive, wonderfully produced dubs, but, yeah.
I
It's a thing.
I
It's a
definitely
whole
need to
thing.
check that out now. So, in regards to your voiceover work, obviously excluding anything you've signed an NDA with, what are some of the best projects you've actually worked on?
One of my absolute favorites is an original animation called The West Patch. It's so darling and charming. It's still, continuously being made, but, it's very creepy, very fun, sessions. Yeah, it's been the one that I was probably most proud of. Um, I also just love anytime I get to play, like, a very angry, domineering, strong, female character.
Mhm.
Love those. They always give me just, like, the tingles. Just, like, I love letting that energy out, and those are always fun. Um, but yeah, I've gotten to do some cool things. I had to take quite a bit of a break from voiceover this past year and just kind of getting back into it, getting on my feet just due to
Mhm.
personal things, but, yeah, I'm excited to be back. I'm happy to have been getting some cool things to do recently, and hopefully we'll continue in that trajectory.
Well, that's definitely awesome. So in terms of the industry, I don't know if you've seen the previous interviews I've done. This question is sort of like a loaded question. I, I don't know if I want to keep it in or take it out. It's basically just an opinionated question regarding AI in terms of voiceover. Do you feel things are going in a positive direction regarding AI? What I mean by that is, if you've actually seen recently, there was a mod. If you're a fan of the Witcher series, The Witcher 3 particularly, where somebody actually replicated. Uh, I think his name is Doug Cockle. I think. Please don't butcher me if I if I
Mhm.
mispronounced or mispronounced Geralt's actual voice actor's name. But I believe it's Doug Cockle. But I believe there was a mod recently where an AI computer program actually replicated his voice and was able to essentially sound just like Geralt. And my
Wow.
question to you is, do you feel things are going to be positive, negative, or no real, I guess, no real opinion when it comes to his future AI voiceover? Because it's just a loaded question.
I mean, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about that. I have heard, like, discourse about it. I can imagine that it would put a lot of voice actors out of work, so I can't imagine it being a good thing, at least not for the actors. I'm sure it's a good thing for the people who wanna save on hiring voice actors, but for
Mm-hmm.
the sake of the industry, I don't imagine that it's and as far as just what I know about it, I don't imagine that it's a particularly exciting thing for an actor to think about.
Yeah, that's a lot of what I've been hearing from a lot of directors. Really, is that it's going to save money. I'm like, well, you've also got to realize that actors, this is a job for us. So you know, while I understand where you're coming from, you also have to understand that it's sort of the same thing as hiring a freelancer for anything, whether it's plumbing or anything of that nature. You want to hire somebody who's skilled in that profession. Um,
Yeah, and
God
I can't
forbid if we have
imagine that, like, they can oh, sorry.
no, no, no. I was gonna say, I was gonna say like, goodness forbid if we have like robot plumbers eventually, then we're like, oh, we're really out of service now.
Yeah, and, like, I can't imagine that I mean, I have not heard them, but I can't imagine that an AI could emote, in ways that a human being could. I don't know, but I'm sure technology has surprised me before, but, I feel like there's nuance in acting that would, I imagine, be very difficult to replicate in a computer. Um, but yeah, those are kind of all the thoughts that I think I have on that.
Yeah, it's a kind of a loaded question. I'm probably gonna get rid of that question later on in interviews because it's just kind of like, it's one of those questions where it's like, well, there goes my happy thoughts.
Yeah, I can't
um,
imagine anyone having like at least a voice actor having like a different opinion on it.
yeah. So this is a good thing. With the idea that a lot more voiceovers and not just voiceovers, but just acting in general can be done at home or at a mobile studio. Um, Obviously, this is a great thing when it comes to indie voice actors. But do you see that being a sort of down spiral for Hollywood SAG after union voice actors, or do you see it being, you know, neither or? What I mean by that is that because of a lot more, or not because of a lot more, because of COVID, a lot of voice actors have actually gone to creating their own home studios,
Mhm.
and that includes union actors, believe it or not. Um, and because of that, a, a lot more studios are transitioning to online work. I don't think anybody's still doing well, maybe AAA studios might be still doing, in-house work, but for the most part, almost all studios that I know of are doing online work now. I think it's definitely a great thing when it comes to the future of, indie voice actors and just voice actors who are non-union. But do you see this as being sort of like the change when it comes to union and non-union, where a lot more people are gonna start wanting to be non-union?
You know, I'm not sure, but I do know that remote recording does pose challenges mainly for like the audio engineers. I know personally audio engineers that, have to deal with different room tones, like different sound treatment and having to make it sound cohesive is no easy task. So I mean, they do a great job at it. Like everything that's been coming out sounds wonderful. Like
Mm-hmm.
great kudos to them. Like they do so much heavy lifting for the industry. Um, but I think it's a great thing for actors, up and coming actors, people to explore this profession because it really there's there's so much barriers to entry as is. Like
Mm-hmm.
even on like with the possibility of remote recording and kind of getting your start online. But I think that it's one second, my computer just did a weird thing.
That's all right.
Can you hear me? Cool, cool. All right. Um, but I think that it's a really cool way to an accessible way to get more people on and to kind of test the waters with diversity, especially I'm excited to see more actors, different from everywhere, literally all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
getting opportunities in things like, a studio in Dallas or LA. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's super super cool to me, and it's exciting as an actor that doesn't live in those places to have that door not be completely shut just because I'm not physically there. And of course, for safety, for COVID, it's just more accessible, like, in every way, I imagine, and I get that there are drawbacks. I don't know that there are a lot of people, who do work in studio that are eager to get back to in studio, and I get that 'cause it is more cohesive work at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day when everyone is in the same booth, um, but, and, you're right there with the director but I think it's a cool thing. I can't help but think that it's really opened a lot of doors for a lot of people, and that's always really exciting.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to praise COVID because I'm not going to do that because COVID's taken
Right.
so
No, no,
many
no,
people.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
COVID is not exciting.
yeah,
Not
I had it myself, and I couldn't. Everything tastes like water. Chicken tastes like water. Lobster tastes like water. It was fun. I'll just say that much. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I really do think that this is sort of like the revolutionary point in acting history where, no longer are people tied to going to Hollywood to act. They can do it
Mhm.
from their home now.
Yeah, and I know that, like, a lot of people have that dream, and, um, I doubt many of them would be able to just pack up and move, especially with, like, the cost of living there, and,
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's a whole 'nother, bag of worms, but, Yeah,
That
I think it's super cool.
that would make this interview almost 2 hours long talking about California's home policy, the real estate problems. Um,
Right.
so, has there been any project that was really, and this is okay, how do I put this? Has there been any project that was really bad in your eyes, or even funny? One was like really funny. You don't need to name the actual title of the project or the director, but just if you want to share anything like that, you're more than more than welcome to.
Really funny. I've seen some, like, eyebrow-raising auditions. I've never signed on to a project that, that I didn't appreciate, but I have seen some, like, interesting auditions, come go around that, have, like, I have questions, but, not I suppose it's not my place to say anything, but,
uh,
yeah, but I've never signed on to anything that I thought was questionable or, um, like, yeah, if I don't want my name on it, I'm not putting my name on it.
okay, that's fair. I asked somebody that same question regarding to because they told me that they were a not safe for work voice actor, and I'm like,
Mm.
maybe we shouldn't put your demo on here. um, so in terms of options, if you could voice in one single project, it doesn't matter if it's a video game, an original animation. We had one. Oh my god, I forgot her name. Olivia. Olivia said that she would love to voice in a Disney animation one day. So
Mhm.
that's awesome. But if you could voice
Yeah.
in one single project, what would it be?
I really, really wanna get into children's animation, like, for little kids, for,
Mm-hmm.
like, the Nick Jr., Disney Jr. stuff. I have a kid, and I think they're just so cute and so fun, and it
Mm-hmm.
would literally be the coolest thing ever if I was a voice in a show that my kid watches. Um, but yeah, easily that, or honestly, I'm really into commercial work. I love commercial work.
mm-hmm.
I think it's fun. I think it's yeah, I just think it's really fun and, more of that, like, would love to do more commercials and get, some, uh, roles for, like, specifically children's animation, but I'm open to everything. I think I've every that's what's so fun about this industry to me is that, like, you're not really just doing one thing. Like, sure, you're behind the mic, but, like, you could do a commercial, you know, 1 hour, and then the next hour you have a session for, like a villain who's destroying the entire planet or something, and then the next session, you're a cute little kitty that's singing songs, like, it's the coolest thing ever, and, I'm open to all of it.
That's awesome. So, do you have any how do I put this? Trying to think of the best way. This is actually not written on the script. Do you have any sort of tips for any aspiring voice actors, actresses out there that want to get into this industry, whether or not you've experienced, basically, if you've experienced things and you want to share what you've experienced and the best sort of tips you can offer to any aspiring actor out there who's interested in potentially getting into this industry?
Yeah, this is kind of I don't know if meta is the right word, but, like, I think the best sort of tip that I could give and advice that I could give is don't don't take what don't take people's advice and tips to heart and too literally. Like, I'll see a lot of, discourse on Twitter about like, for example, on Twitter, where people will say, "Oh, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all great to, like, know about, especially from people who have been in the industry for a long time, like, get pieces of information and knowledge and experiences, and kind of understand where other people are coming from and where their success comes from and their experience. That's all very valid, but, like, at the end of the day, your journey is gonna be unique. Like, you can't do what that actor did and get the same results. So that's just not how that will work. So, have like, believe in yourself, like, have the confidence to know when you're ready to take certain steps, whether that's, like, making a demo or even submitting an audition. Like, if you don't believe in it, it's likely that, other people won't either. So just know your strengths. Don't let other people tell you what your strengths are, and kind of go with your instinct, whatever feels right to you, whether that's like making your own projects and voicing in your own original projects, or, auditioning, or cold calling, or, making a demo, whatever that looks like. It looks different for everybody, and especially like what order they go in. And just be open to opportunity. A lot of it is just luck and being at the right place at the right time. I know it's kind of like cheesy, but it's true. And just be ready for just be ready for those opportunities, because if you're solid, if your acting is solid, if your confidence is there, if you're ready for that work and it's in front of you, like, go for it. You're ready to go.
I like that. So, do you have any questions for me before we go ahead and end this interview?
Um, how was your start in the industry? How did you get your start?
So I used to do theater arts when I was growing up, and I've told this story a few times in other interviews. When I was around in fourth grade or so, I have really bad stage fright as well, or I had really bad stage fright and really bad anxiety. I don't know if I still do, but I was in chorus or choir. I think it was called choir back then. No, I think it was chorus. And I was in chorus back then during a Christmas special. Ironic since it's like Christmas this coming up weekend. Um, but it was my turn to sing, and I was in front of the stage. I I just I didn't I blacked out basically and had complete stage fright. And you got like 80 some parents and people in the audience sitting there like, oh my god, is this kid okay? Oh,
Oh,
and I had to get escorted off the stage, and I still remember this. And I'm 26 now, so it's like, things in the past, funny when
yeah,
you look back at it, but back then it was probably
traumatizing.
terrifying.
Yeah.
um, but I actually got my start, I guess, with theater arts. I I definitely recommend that to anybody who is already in high school or in middle school or well, even in college, you can still take theater arts.
Yeah,
I definitely
take advantage.
recommend theater arts. Not only is it fun, but it actually teaches you important things in acting, like improv. A lot of
Mhm.
time, improv is crucial when it comes to voice acting because a lot of times the directors you work with aren't going to be English native speakers. Um, or, well, English isn't going to be their native language, so a lot of the scripts might not make any sense. So improving may be the best solution when it comes to that, and then explaining, what you did and why you did it, essentially. Um,
Sure,
but
and for, like, Walla work is basically all improv,
oh
and it's
wow,
hard. It's hard, like, you gotta definitely, it's a skill you gotta sharpen for sure.
mm-hmm.
I gotta take more improv classes for sure.
Improv is really fun because it just kind of, you can make up your own stories. I mean, I pantomiming and improv. I
Mhm.
remember it was like I had a theater arts coach who used to work for colleges. Like I'm not gonna name the college on here, but a local college in Virginia. Um, and she taught me pantomiming and improv, and I remember I did things like, I'm a police detective who's now ghost hunting. I'm like, oh, okay. Put put your ectoplasm up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that was hilarious. But after college, I sort of got into writing, as well as in writing transition to sort of acting, because I was experimenting with Team Infinite back then, and I was doing these character voices like Perfect Cell and things like that.
Mm.
And back then I had a Blue Yeti, and oh
I'm
Lord.
with you there. I had one of those myself. Still do, still have one.
Blue
Don't use it, but
Yeti is
pretty
great
nice.
in terms of small stuff. I definitely would not recommend Blue Yeti for big time projects. Just I would recommend an XLR microphone or a ribbon microphone. Something other than a USB microphone.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
wonderful mic for what it's for, and
hmm
it's got a lot of application.
right. The first project I actually did, oh Lord, I used to do FNAF fan games. I think I did all the voices in Overnight to Reboot. I did some of the voices in Final Hours for Final Nights or Final Hours. One, but they both began with the word final, so it gets confusing. Um, but I did. fun time. I didn't do Kellen's voice. I just did a fan version of the voice. But that game Overnight 2 reboot got really popular for fans and all that stuff. Um, and then I played a game, or then I voiced in a game that Jim Sterling roasted, and that sort of changed my mentality a little bit because it wasn't, well, it was my fault, but it was also the director's fault because he threatened to DMCA Jim Sterling because Jim Sterling roasted his game. So that was fun dealing with that. Um,
Good.
yeah, that was a great time. The other one I did was like Lake of the Blind Mannequin. That game, looking back on it, was hilarious. People said it sounded like Vegeta going fishing in the dark, and it was hilarious because
That sounds wonderful.
I was
I do enjoy Dragon Ball, so that's a very
yeah
funny visual.
yeah. They asked me to voice an old man. I'm like 19 years old, so I'm like, they closed the lake today. It just sounded like Vegeta going fishing after he just took a Xanax or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've had quite a few fun experiences and a little bit of embarrassing experiences, but overall it's been a roller coaster of ups and downs. Mostly
Yeah.
ups, but there are some downs in this industry. And the best advice I can give to anybody out there is, you're going to fail 1,000 times before you successfully, you're going to fail 1,000 times before you succeed once. And to me,
Lot
that right there is the key in success is in order to be successful, you have to actually fail first.
Yeah, just keep pushing. Keep getting back up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really the best advice I can give you is that no matter what, it's going to seem like it's impossible. It's not impossible, but life was never made fair. And the challenge to life is, you know, doing with what, doing, oh God, I hate trying to sound smart. um, doing with what I'm trying to say it like an old Latin phrase, but it's not.
I
Doing
think I
with
get what you're saying. I
yeah,
get
giving your all with what you're given, basically, if that makes any
Alright.
sense.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
like I said, you're going to fail 1,000 times before you succeed once. Just get back up and keep trying. You can't just give up
100%.
once you fail once. I mean, if that was the case, there would be no winners, there would be no athletes, there would be nothing. Um, and
Right.
that's really just beyond voiceover. That's way beyond voiceover. That's talking about everything in general. Like if you don't get that job you wanted, maybe they found somebody who was a candidate, or maybe they just want you to have more experience. I have personal experience with that sort of thing where I've been rejected from jobs and things of that nature beyond voiceover.
Mm.
Even the career I actually went into in terms of college. Um, just the best advice I can give you is don't ever give up on yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That's great advice for sure, for everybody.
But yeah, I'm sorry for talking your head off, Anya.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
So I think that's gonna be it. So Team Infinite, I do want to mention that this is going to be a new series we're starting. We're going to be transitioning the VL, which is the Voice Actors League, into Team Infinite eventually, because we're actually planning on building our own original animation series. We're going to be working on Just Saying eventually. I keep saying eventually because it's been 4 or 5 years since Just Saying 3 came out, and we had plans for Just Saying 4 2 years ago. But anyways, we're going to be working on our own original series. The first couple ideas I have is going to be a Star Wars animation, a fan animation. That may or may not come before the original animated series gets written, and all that stuff. But I just wanted to, let you all know that this is going to be a new series on the channel, basically trying to get, these amazing actors out there and in the world, basically. Getting their stories out there. That way, they're not just people behind a microphone. They actually have a face and they actually have a story to tell. Well, besides the voices they do. But yeah, it's been awesome talking to you, Anya. I really do appreciate your time, and definitely, really, we really do appreciate you doing the interview here on Team Infinite.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. All right, guys, you have a great night. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and if I don't see or if I don't have a new one up by New Year's, Happy New Year.